We have in this session the keynote speech to be delivered by Professor Dr. Ainun Nishat, Professor Emeritus, BRAC University, ex-professor, Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, and a pioneer of water resource and climate change specialist in Bangladesh. The topic of his presentation is impact of connectivity on mitigation of climate change. Considering the perspective with so much importance being given to the global climate, this will be a highly pertinent session, and the audience will hopefully be immensely benefited out of this speech. We are privileged and honored to get an international expert on this very subject today within ourselves, who has dedicated and profoundly contributed most of his career in ameliorating global environment.
There will be a 30 minutes presentation session by the invited speaker, followed by 15 minutes question and answering session. I would like to hand over the floor to Professor Dr. Mohammad Alamgir, member UGC, to conduct the session as the chair. Before joining UGC as member, Professor Dr. Mohammad Alamgir was Vice Chancellor of Khulna University of Engineering and Technology, BUET, on 2 consecutive terms. He acted as the syndicate member, dean, and head of Civil Engineering Department and Hall Provost.
Professor Alamgir obtained his BSc and MSc degrees from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. He did his PhD and postdoctoral degrees from Saga University, Japan. Professor Dr. Mohammad Alamgir, the floor is yours, sir.
Good afternoon. Finally, it's a wonderful moment for us because we are in the first keynote speech of this wonderful event, Asia Pacific Advanced Network, APAN53. We are privileged that we have our honorable speaker, one of the renowned professor of Bangladesh, Professor Dr. Ainun Nishat, who is basically a water resource expert, environmental expert, and also the climate change mitigation, adaptation, and all these things. Professor Ainun Nishat started his career after graduation from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology. He joined Bangladesh Water Development Board as an assistant engineer. Later, he shifted to BUET as a professor, as a lecturer of civil engineering. Later, he moved to water resource engineering and he became the professor of that university. And at the same time, he worked in other universities also after left BUET. And he's working very closely with the government for negotiation and dealing all these things, especially Ganges Water Treaty, and which is one of the important aspects for the Bangladesh contest. And he's also a member of Joint Rivers Commission, which is the bilateral relationship between India and Bangladesh. And also he worked in different policy level for Bangladesh, especially climate change issues. And a lot of things in his credit, and I believe that all of you know about this. And he's one of the wonderful contribution while he was the country director of IUCN, International Union of Conservation of Nature. Now, with these few words, I would like to invite our honorable speaker. And at the same time, I would apologize that we are 1 hour late. This is probably due to today is our International Women's Day. Lot of programs has been going on in Dhaka city. This is why he already stacked for 3 hours on the road. So thank you, sir. At least you join with us after a long journey in Dhaka city. 3 hours, not a matter of joke for you at this age. So we would like to listen from Professor Ainun Nishat for the next few minutes. Thank you, sir.
20 minutes.
25 minutes, probably.
Assalamu alaikum. I had planned to address you as through greeting you as a good morning on good morning, but it is already afternoon. I started from my home at about 10:30. I do come to this area to meet friends, and normally it takes me about 25, maximum 30 minutes, normally 20 minutes. Today I was on the road for, you understand, from 10:30 to 1:30, and I'm a serious diabetic patient, so you can understand my condition. So after coming here, I had to run to the washroom to relieving myself. Having said that, since this is an event for the Asia Pacific region, and I have the privilege of working in the region like in Thailand, in Philippines, especially in these two countries, also Indonesia, where traffic jam is very common. I remember many years back, I was working as a consultant for Asian Development Bank in Manila, and I had a meeting with what is called NIA, National Irrigation Authority, which is almost on the other side of the town. And appointment was at 1 p.m. So my team leader said at about 10 a.m., Nishat, let's start. I said 1 p.m. and this is 10. What about lunch? He said, forget lunch. Let's start. Okay. So on the car, I asked the driver very politely, and there's speak reasonable good English, how long does it take? He said, sir, anything between 45 minutes to 4 hours. So we took 3 hours to go there. And luckily we reached there at about 90 minutes. So we went to a nearby restaurant, had some snacks, and attended the meeting on time. I had similar experience in Bangkok. I was in Asian Institute of Technology, and I had an appointment with a doctor in the city. And my friend said, start 3 hours ahead. Things had improved after they had improved their connectivity. They had built flyover and the things that are being done in Dhaka. Things improved for 5-10 years. Right now, it is again back to the old condition because the traffic is so high, the improved connectivity doesn't help. But in one place, the improved connectivity helps if you are taking an underground train, because then there is no traffic, you smoothly travel through the path. Now let me start the meeting in a very, shall I use the word, lighter tone, but no accusation or no offensive point. It is my fault. It is my fault because I see honorable academics here, vice chancellors and professors and others. Of course, I should have addressed the distinguished chairperson of the session. Since I work on climate change right now, and I'm one of the lead negotiators for the government of Bangladesh, and I'm currently involved in preparation of a number of documents which the government has to submit to the world, and also for the national need. And since climate change is a very burning issue, on 13th August 2021, the whole world issued the red alert for climate change. And that is why the issue of climate change is very, very important for Bangladesh. The adaptation report came out 4 days earlier, and the science report came out in August. And what it says, now please remember, climate change is not an issue or not a problem which you are facing right now. This is a problem of future. This is not a problem for me. I will not be there in 30 years' time or 40 years' time. But those who are young in this room, they will face the problems very acutely in 20 years, 30 years' time. The temperature is only 1 degree up, and it may go up by 1.5 degree by 2030, and it may go up by 2 degree by 2050. And the world has committed not to allow the temperature rise to be more than 2 degrees under Paris Agreement. and how to implement the provisions of Paris Agreement has been finalized on 13th November 2021. So still, I talked to Bangladeshi officials, they are not aware what are our requirements and what we have committed in November in Glasgow. So what we have committed, we must fulfill it. The world is now working on 7 blocks. Block number 1, global target. For temperature, it is 2 degrees now. The world would be fighting from November, when we'll meet in Egypt, to make it, lower it to 1.5. And then there is no global standard on adaptation. What do you do? And that work has started in January, just 2-3 months back. From Bangladesh, we do want to propose global standard, the standard that we want to follow. Luckily, we are one of the few countries of the world which is done or more or less ready on most of the issues on adverse impacts of climate change, that is on adaptation. 80% of the country has flood control dikes. Germany suffered this year. Their condition is worse than Bangladesh. Drought. Another adverse impact. Did you notice that we suffered through a serious drought last year? Did you notice in Rangpur or in Lalmonirhat, they couldn't go for transplantation of rice due to lack of water? Only in the Tista barrage area, the area was green because it had provided supplementary irrigation or the irrigation in monsoon period. Anyway, so global target on mitigation, we have a target. And I should like to ask you a question. What is the temperature in this room? I may get answers anything from 18 degrees Celsius to 24 degrees Celsius. Am I right? Human beings, we do not understand the difference of 2 degrees, 3 degrees Celsius. But nature understands it. Plants and trees and their flowering time changes. After many years, we had a good winter this year. And therefore, I expect good mango crop this year, unless we have a strong cyclone and tornadoes. The report of August 2021 warned Bangladesh that be ready for mega events on cyclone. We have not experienced category 5 cyclone still as of today. Sidor and Ayla is maybe category 1 or 2. Amphan possibly was category 5, but it didn't hit Bangladesh, it attacked India. If it had come to Borguna, I don't know what would have happened because we are not ready for it. Category 5 means that the wind speed is 250 kilometers per hour. We are ready for 100, 120, 130, 140 kilometers per hour. We are ready for a storm surge height of 15 feet, 5 meters. Recently, government have started improving it to 6.5, that is around 20 feet. But what happens if the storm surge is 25 feet? That's likely to happen. Unusual rainfall. Did you notice that last year, year before last, in Rangpur, they experienced 453 millimeter rainfall in one day. Last year, it was 250 millimeters of rainfall in one day. If it happens in Dhaka, even Dhaka University would go underwater. 450 millimeters of rainfall. Our experience is maximum 300 rainfall, but normally with 50 millimeters of rainfall, we suffer a lot. So global target, then mitigation. Now mitigation means how do you cut down the greenhouse gases that would control the global warming process. So global target, mitigation, then comes adaptation. How do you face it? Then comes finance. And huge amount of money has been promised. The newspapers report totally in a misguided way. They say funds have not been committed. Rubbish. Because the global target is to raise $100 billion every year. In November last year, they raised up to 70 billion. Billion, not million, billion. And they are now trying to bring in the private sector in it. About 500 top CEO of private companies were present in Glasgow. My point is, are we ready in Bangladesh? Are we ready? Do you have the capacity to write the papers necessary to get the part of it, maybe 5 billion or 10 billion dollar from the global kitty, which is for the 195 countries? My answer is no. In fact, if I was not here, I would have been delivering a lecture at Ministry of Environment of Forest, where they are trying to train up the concerned officials how to write the application. So global goal, mitigation, adaptation, and finance. And finance is not going to be easy, because those who are going to pay would take the account book very seriously. And it has already been officially declared and decided that monitoring of the implementation of the project and utilization of fund would be very important. How do you do monitor a project? IBA, BBA, and MBA students are experts on that. Development studies and others, they also work on that. And the level on which Bangladesh works is logical framework, LFA. Now we say, no, we have to go even higher. Theory of change has to be applied. I work closely with the government at times, and I'm trying to talk to the secretary, and everybody asks me, what is theory of change? And I have to tell them stories to explain that or explain that. So finance is important, and then comes capacity building. And please take my word, don't feel insulted. I'm a senior academic also. In Bangladesh, we do not have the capacity to hook onto the global system and get the benefit out of it. We seriously lack in capacity, especially among the civil servants. I lecture at PATC regularly and at NDC regularly, and when I say it, they look me angrily, but that's the truth. The traditional way of doing work is no longer going to work. The things are going to change. And then comes the transparency mechanism. You have to fulfill several conditions. What you do must be transparent. What you do must be compliant. What you do must be based on partnership. What you do must be based on inclusiveness. All stakeholders must be consulted. And we do not have proper planning in Bangladesh. You see all these flyovers and metro rails and others are being planned. But they forgot that in the flyover and the MRT, the cars should be moving much above the ground, but how they're going to get down to the ground, that somebody has forgotten. We forget when we we construct a bridge to put up the approach road. And in certain areas we are doing well, and to do all these 7 things, what we need is strong communication or connectivity. Now, as I said, I will start with a lighter tone. When I read the invitation letter that I got from BD Ren and signed by one honorable member of one of the members of UGC, this is the exact title that was given to me. So see my condition. Impact, and I'm thinking all the adverse impacts of climate change, because impact of connectivity on mitigation of climate change. So I thought I should talk about the impact. I thought about connectivity. I'm coming to connectivity and mitigation and climate change. So, and then they talked to me. They said it will be okay. Okay. So when I was contacted, and long back, I appreciate that. You alert the resource person in October because he has to do his homework. So sufficient time was there, and in between I attended the Glasgow meeting. So I'm quite up to date on climate change and all issues related to climate change. And they said this is an APAN event. Again, in the domain of climate change, APAN is a very important term because this is Asia Pacific Adaptation Network, not your APAN. I learned it later on. So when I looked into the title, there was connectivity, there was mitigation, there was climate change, and there was APAN. So I was at home. I know this subject. I'm one of the lead negotiators for government of Bangladesh at the global level. So reasonably up to date on this topic. And at this time, I was deeply involved in preparation of two national documents. One document is called NDC, Nationally Determined Contribution. All 196 countries of the world are sovereign, and therefore you cannot ask them to do something, but you can ask them to volunteer. That tell us what is the maximum you can contribute or help us. So that's the NDC. In Bangladesh, we are not required or obliged to push for mitigation to cut down the greenhouse gases. But the NGOs who get money from their masters in the Western world, for whom mitigation is essential or cutting down greenhouse gas is essential, they make noise that we should go for NDC or we should cut down greenhouse gases and we should have lower the greenhouse gases in our country also. Our Honorable Prime Minister said, okay, we will cut it down by what we can achieve. So our achievable target that was finalized on 31st December this last year is 5% on our own and another 17% if we get some financial support and technology. So you think in my mind, I'm thinking about NDC, the document some of us gathered together and helped the government to prepare. And the second document is, I'm coming to that. So second document is adaptation. It will be finalized hopefully by end of March or April. I'm currently the team leader. So all my life I'm thinking on climate change, or whenever I have time, mitigation and adaptation. Now, one of the important tools for mitigation or to cut down the greenhouse gas is connectivity. If you get down in Delhi airport, on the left side, you will see the metro rail of Delhi. And it is written in large words. Sorry, I have not been there for last two and a half years due to COVID. But prior to that, it was said, this metro rail has been built with the money that we get from climate change led discussion, that is the carbon trading. We could get money through carbon trading for our metro rail and others. I have pleaded with the concerned secretary, concerned PD, and they ignored. Anyway, so going back, connectivity is very important. As I said, we have already promised that we will cut it down by 5% on our own. The basis of calculation is improved connectivity in the country. The Podda Bridge, you want to go to Khulna or Benapole, all the goods that would be shipped through Benapole to India, with the Podda Bridge, which hopefully would be open before 30th June this year, is almost ready. I have driven over the Podda Bridge, luckily. I mean, it's ready. I know the experience, but it will be ready for everybody in 6 months. And think how much traffic would be cut down, the length. From Dhaka to Khulna, previously it was 350 kilometers. Now it will be maybe 150 kilometers. So every car, every jeep, every truck, every vehicle would be saving traveling of 200 kilometers. So how much petrol that would be saved? You think about it. From Bogura to Rangpur, you need 250 kilometers. Government is making a loop by which they will be connected directly which would be hardly 100 kilometers long. You will save time, but you will save carbon dioxide. So that is why I had carbon dioxide in my mind. So connectivity, mitigation, climate change, APAN, and green technology, these are the words I was not confused. I was very strong in what I'm going to write for this session. But 2 days back, I discovered, sorry, this connectivity is different. This connectivity is Wi-Fi and internet, and how do we work in the virtual world? So I started thinking. So over the last 2 days, I have put my thoughts in some direction. So the mistake was mine, but even then I had already prepared my note on the connectivity in transport sector. So I will run through the slides in 2 minutes because I had done the work, and let me share with you. So freight connectivity is the major contributor to atmospheric pollution in the road transport sector. And one of the things that we are pushing the government is to pay attention to navigation. And my understanding is the government is slowly taking it seriously because Modi is very serious about it. Did you notice 2 weeks back, a vessel starting in Allahabad came all the way to Farakka, went to the sea, entered through Sundarban, came to Meghna, Aricha, Fulchuri Ghat, went to Dhubri. So this is the national river route number 1 and 2 connected through Bangladesh by India, and India is putting a lot of emphasis on that. India is very correctly, officially declared, cut down on road sector, improve on railway, and improve on navigation. And they're looking for connectivity. A train, freight train, they have the the containers, and they have the double-decker container. So one container on the top of that one. And so that it can go through Podda Bridge, we designed it like that. So I can see, and they have the freight route, Delhi, Chennai, Mumbai, Calcutta, and then Agartala. They all will be connected with high-speed train. So this is where they're pushing for their connectivity, which is it will be safe and accessible and environment friendly and etc. And when you use this sort of facility, lot of carbon dioxide could be avoided. So there is a huge paradigm shift all over the country. So point I'm trying to make at this point is that technology is very important. But the understanding of the user of the technology, of what he is using or what he is doing, is equally important. While I'm supposed to talk about connectivity through the fiber optical cable, that is now being, most all the public universities, public sector universities in the country are connected, and they have access to all information highway in the world. And the facility, I understand, is also being allowed to some private sector university. In fact, I have signed some document when I was Vice Chancellor of BRAC University with UGC, so I'm sure that's operational now. So the user of the technology must also have good understanding what benefit would accrue as well as the output that we will get. We need to use the technology effectively. Capacity to use technology as well as the quality of technology that will be used as input is equally important. And why I say that? My experience. I must admit that internet speed and Wi-Fi related services has improved in Bangladesh, and Bangladesh has surplus bandwidth, and we are selling it to the international community. We are selling it to Tripura, we want to sell it to Bhutan, we want to sell it to India, and we are getting more connectivity through the sea link. But is the service reliable? especially outside Dhaka. I had a lot of bad experience in last 3-4 days. I was delivering a lecture while the main workshop or seminar was being held in Gopalganj. The additional secretary from the ministry and few joint secretaries and deputy secretaries, they went from Dhaka, and all the senior officers from Gopalganj was present. I was in Dhaka, I didn't want to travel. My wife is still scared about COVID. As I'm talking, within 5 minutes, my line was off. So I received a phone call, sir, we cannot hear you. Okay, I restarted my computer. It came back into life. After another 5 minutes, the Gopalganj line went off. And I have the same experience with Jhalokati about 3-4 days back. So my point is, yes, we can put on the efficiency, we can, like what we are doing, we can expand the area, but at the same time, the internet speed at times gets slower, at times gets cut off. And that's the situation in communication in my country. And then the question is, what is the level of computer literacy among the senior academics, professionals? And when I say professionals, I was involved with some banks, and I could see the senior professionals are not familiar with the computer technology. They depend on the junior people. And that is where many times corruption starts. I mean, money is leaked out. But good news is, yes, we are improving very fast. The way the COVID vaccine is being delivered and the way the data has been kept, I have taken 3 shots, and I can download a certificate from the government of Bangladesh telling me that I have done the 3 vaccines and giving the dates, the type of vaccine, and where I have taken the shot. It's a fantastic improvement. I cannot think that Bangladesh does it. But then there are many needs to get this sort of activity that would require high volume of data to be handled, like census is coming soon, the election process. And we should have good connectivity between the election center with the election commission so that they get the information very rapidly. But the good news is there is tremendous amount of interest in the young generation to be computer literate. Of course, they use it for some other purpose, like watching movies and recreational purpose. I am a poor person on this because back in 1977, I did my PhD. The computer I had was big like umbrellas, and the brand I was allowed to use was 1904S. So I asked one of the supervisor what S stands for. He said S for slow. He was joking, of course. And that was the time when IBM 370 just came into life. So the capacity of one ICL 1904S, the storage capacity was lower than this one. So world has moved fast. A lot of things have happened. Our time for us is to catch them. So in that sense, I believe BT-RAN is moving in the right direction by pushing high-speed connectivity network and data processing or high-performance computing. But the users must be trained. That's the point I'm trying to make. Otherwise, you have the facility. But unless you use it, what's the value? This sort of mobile, I think everybody has in this room. How much of its capacity we use? 10%? 15%? 20%? And when I have some problem using it, I call my granddaughter. Can you help me to sort it out? It's not functioning. So I'm hopeful the younger generation are moving in the right direction. They are becoming computer savvy. They are learning the technology. But BT-RAN has now connected all the public sector universities a few private sector universities. And I believe that the academics may meet very regularly over internet and talk. Research often is interdisciplinary. Previously, one person used to work for his topic, for his problem. It's possible on social science, maybe on history. But on science and engineering and medicine, it is a group work. And that group work can be facilitated by the capacity that is being built by BDREN among in your university. So they can help with conference services, campus network, hosting services, doing some additional work. The universities may organize many research projects that use huge data to be handled. As for example, I will give the examples from my field, which is water resources engineering. Short duration heavy rainfall is very serious. Lack of rainfall. As I said, there was no rain in Bangladesh or in the northern Bangladesh very heavily. But see our neighboring country. They had warned that there would be heavy rainfall in September and October. Farmers, please do not plant potato. They didn't do it. But here we did it. In Rangpur and Bogura, the farmers lost their crop. So
Sir,
that information is available.
We have to complete by 2 because we have another session at 2 o'clock. Please.
Okay. Just, I think, last slide most possibly. So the universities can organize many research projects, collect the data. I am involved with the Podda Bridge, and we do bathymetric survey where when the pointer goes down, it collects data from about 100,000 points. And we know exactly how the dunes are moving and sediment road. So I talked to BDREN and they said their use of their service is increasing. So these are the options on my old connectivity. But moving back, I would like to recommend that the adaptation of the acts in the ICTs in the academic world as well as in professional life is able to reduce cost, save time, reduce pollution, accidents, etc. But it should create an environment where especially with the universities, they are encouraged to work in a group, in a collective manner, so that the research is truly multidimensional, multisectoral, and more solid work. So BDREN and UGC is doing good work. I congratulate their efforts and work, but I wish their services are more extensively used by the potential users. Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for your patience. I would like to thank our honorable speaker for his brilliant speech and some guidelines and recommendations for BDREN, which will be a light for the BDREN to go ahead. With this, we would like to make a claps for our honorable speakers. And with this, I would like to conclude this session. Thank you very much for your patience and for helping us and cooperating us. And also the audience who are connected with us from home and abroad through virtually. I would like to thank all of you for your patience. With this few words, I'd like to conclude these sessions. Thank you very much.